Hey, good morning and welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. We're going to talk just a little bit here about, water rights, state assemblies, emergency powers, and the virus. Okay, so the coronavirus is still going on, right? This has been just about a year since people started noticing. This is at the point in time where last year, late January, the media was screaming racism and horror and everything, and it's a nothing burger, and there will be nothing there except racist attacks on poor brown people. All right. Well, we know that that wasn't actually what happened or how it transpired, but remember that the media wants you to think that they never said any of that. So we've been going through almost a year now of emergency powers here in the state of Nevada. Okay, of course, Arizona, California, every other state I go to, it's the same thing. Oregon, whatever. Missouri was pretty nice, though. Missouri's pretty relaxed. Here's the deal, okay? In a place like Arizona, you have the ability for the local cities, counties to do their own thing, to put more restrictive measures in place because it's pretty obvious. And the governor there, Ducey, has actually said that, it doesn't really seem to matter how you handle this. You're going to get hit hard in the winter, and different places have different needs. Well, we have a governor in Nevada named Steve Sisolak, and he's part of the Nevada Democratic Party. So let's explain that a little bit. Let's go back to way back. Okay, we're going to go way back to the middle of Obama's reign of terror. All right. At that point in time, there were many Democrats in the state assembly and state senate who wanted to change the way water was handled in Nevada. Specifically, we have a basin-range topography, so we have different aquifers in different parts of the state, and it's not just one state water supply. Not even the same watersheds. So the water that you get up in the northern part, okay, Carson, Truckee, Walker watersheds, they have no relation to the water that you get down in the Vegas area, okay? None of which comes out of the Sierras. They don't share a watershed at all. In fact, I think Vegas is not even in the basin itself, the Great Basin. Anyway, different watersheds. So Las Vegas needs more water. They always need more water. What they were trying to do was put in place a mandate to take certain amounts of the water from the rest of the watersheds and the aquifers and the water supplies of the rest of the state, and then they were going to have individual people in rural Nevada, not agriculture, but individual people have to put water meters and caps on their wells and then pay into a system to pay for water infrastructure for Las Vegas. Of course, this is a nightmare, so people show up. This is a wonderful state that way. People tend to show up at the Capitol and make themselves heard, There's always a public commentary period, and, that was the first time I went to the state Capitol in an activist role. At the time, Brian Sandoval was governor, and he had a fairly open door policy. So I'd take the kids, we homeschool it, I would take the kids to the Capitol, walk around, look at all the county flags. Counties have their own flags, and, explore the stuff, and sometimes just, say hi to Brian. The kids have been in the governor's office and seen the work, and it's pretty cool, right? It doesn't work that way anymore. We have a Democrat as a governor. It's not the same world when you elect Democrats. Very elitist. Well, that's the thing. During these water wars, we had hearings, and one of the things that stuck with me was there was a guy from Vegas who was one of the Democratic Party leaders. He was the whip, I guess the leader of the Democratic Party in the state assembly. And he kept pushing this point during the hearings that we should be grateful to him and that we should have respect for him and respect for all the other leaders because they were allowing us to have a say and have input, and it's their decision, and we should respect them and thank them. And it was a very weird experience for me, because you were talking to a guy who literally believed that he was above you and that you should thank his aristocratic generosity in allowing you to have input in your government. And, he's very, very much mainstream Democrat. This is one of the things that I look at when I look at Democrats as a party, is that this isn't the first time I've run into this. It was the biggest, but then after that, it got worse. Like, there was a culture shift during the Obama era with the Democrats, and it got worse and worse and worse. And now I have to deal with Cortez Masto and Jackie Rosen, and they don't even reply to constituent letters anymore. Like, they're not even. And if you know my social media, you've seen me occasionally post things. I don't post random rants. When I put a letter into Congress's hand, I have sources, I have backup. I say, hey, this is an issue. There are problems moving forward. Not even getting a response is weird. I think Amadei's office is getting a little angry with me because they keep telling me I'm just a poor misinformed. They're getting the elitist thing too, now that he's not a first-term representative. So I have to smack them down and point out that I do actually know and have sources and can do math for them on the page and whatever. Anyway, to the topic. This was one of our public commentary periods. It was very strange that they really wanted to not have us there. And they've been pushing that further and further. When Sisolak got elected, Democrat governor, they ended up with a supermajority. So we have one party rule in Nevada. And it was already really bad before the coronavirus panic. They were giving us Monday morning announcements for hearings on Monday morning with 2 hours, and it's a fairly large state, so you can't get there to do meetings. You can't get there to respond. They were having closed-door voting sessions, closed-door committee meetings about big-ticket issues. Gun control, welfare reform, budgets, taxes, really the major issues in the state. Closed-door meetings. Well, now we're going into a new legislative session, and they're getting worse. Not only are they having closed-door meetings, but as they did with the election process, they're kicking Republicans out of the meetings. They're not allowing Republican legislators to know that the meetings are happening, to know that anything is being done. We had a bill for the mass mail-in, everyone gets a ballot no matter who you are or how old you are or whatever. We had a bill for that, and it was rammed through. It's the only thing Sisolak has done in the coronavirus where he actually used the legislature, and it was done without Republican input, without the Secretary of State, because she is a Republican's party office, without the ability for her to read anything in the bill. There's no way for her to actually have any input on whether it's workable or not. And the Republican legislators in the state didn't get to see or be involved in any of the discussions. And of course, everyone voted no. It was purely a party line vote because no one, you weren't even allowed to know what was going on. Well, here we're coming into a new legislative session, and it's getting worse. And I don't know how long that's going to last. We have several counties in the state have flat out told the governor, we need to operate under a different set of rules. We're not Las Vegas. We're not Reno. We need to operate with a different set of rules and restrictions. We need our economies back. So Sisolak, he always does this on a Friday afternoon, okay, when you can't respond because he goes home for the weekend, right? And lawyers can't respond because the courts aren't open. He always does this on a Friday. It's a very, very specific tactic. Well, all week, counties have been doing this. Elko County, Lyon County, Esmeralda County, Mineral County. At least 4 counties, might be 5. Unfortunately, not Churchill County yet, because I think that would actually matter. Churchill County has a fairly large economic base. Well, the counties said, look, it's been a year, you're still running everything under emergency authority, you have mandates, but you're not letting people think or do or decide or discuss. So we're not Vegas, we have different needs, and we're going to run things differently. We need our economies open, because rural economies tend to have a lot more, despite the reliance on Walmart, we tend to have a lot more small business. There's a lot more small business. There's a lot more need for independent livelihoods, because you don't have the massive corporate urban wage slave base, okay? It's just not how it works. You have to be able to work on your own. You have to be able to, generate income. Well, Sisolak has decided to basically say, no, you're never going to do that. I'm going to do this, whatever. I don't know what he's actually going to do, because I don't know if he can do anything at this point. He can pull licenses. He can, basically he can pull licenses, business licenses, and that's the big thing with the government right now, especially in Nevada, is they will pull your liquor, gaming, mining, all the licenses. Everything is very licensed. The number of licensures has grown dramatically in just the past 10 years. Okay, it used to be very easy to open a business, run a business. Now there's a lot. Okay, the last 10 years has seen a huge change in how you run business in Nevada. And so that's his big stick, okay? He has no carrot. All right? I'm reading articles about how he's blaming infrastructure for his complete failure with unemployment, and how it's all fraud, because there were some fraudulent claims, not all of which are actually fraudulent. Remember, this is a word that the Democrats use in a very specific way, but won't allow other people to use in a very specific way, and that specific way is very broad. Okay, when they want to use it, anything that is irregular is fraud. But when they're using it against you, they narrow it down. Never mind, it's a rant for another day. So, I have several friends who were getting ready to go back to work, to do something. For the first time, some of them have never gotten unemployment because they're 1099 workers, and all the special programs broke down because the state never did anything. And Sisolak never did anything to fix it. He never fundamentally fixed things. He never worried about getting the people handled. He cares about the system and the infrastructure and the computer and the federal money that he thinks he needs in order to provide these services, so that the state can give unemployment money to people that the federal government has already given the state. I don't know what he's doing with it, but it's not going to people. And now, because he refuses to allow economic reopenings, he's also insisting that the federal government gives Nevada lots and lots of extra stuff so that he can, not give it to people who need it. So, a lot of people that I know got very excited last week for being able to go back to work. They were scheduling openings, and now it's all up in the air because the governor, a year in, is still running on emergency executive authority and can do anything he wants. And so far, the Roberts Court has pretty much allowed it. And, that's bad juju. That is potentially even more dangerous than the whole Biden power grab. Okay, everything about China, everything about Biden cucking for China, everything about Hunter Biden, everything about the irregularities of the election and whether or not the government is properly constituted, all of that, we can argue about that forever, but when you start hitting this line where the authoritarians are using executive authority to insist that you're not allowed to make enough money for food, and then they won't pay you the money you need for the welfare, whatever. Like, if they don't allow you to work, so they're going to pay you to not work. If they won't give you that either. Sooner or later people are going to fight. I am honestly, as bad as it is in Nevada, I am honestly surprised that Sisolak is still in office. He's done everything he can politically to make sure that he cannot be removed from office. But I'm still shocked. So, something to think about in your state also. What are these emergency powers? How far do they go? And how long do they last? California's starting to get some pushback, and they're admitting to the courts that they won't even release their data because they don't trust people to have information. So, stay sideways, and I'll talk to you later.